Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hello and welcome to our monthly State of Economy podcast with the theme of marketing. I'm Chitra Narayanan, editorial consultant with the Business Line. In today's episode, we explore how brand India has evolved. In the 2 terms of the Narendra Modi-led BJP government, perhaps the perception of India has changed the most. Joining me to discuss the topic is noted management thinker Shiv Shivakumar, operating partner at Advent International. Shiv has led PepsiCo India and Nokia India in the past. Also with us today is advertising veteran Prathap Suthan, or Pat as he is better known in the industry. Pat is the managing partner and chief creative officer at Bang in the Middle. But more importantly, he was involved in the Incredible India and India Shining campaign, and so has had a ringside view of the branding of India. Over to our guests. Hi, Shiv. Welcome to Business Line's State of Economy podcast.
Yeah, good day, Chitra. Wonderful to be back again for this episode.
Hi, Pratap. Good to have you on our show.
Hi, thank you. Happy
Hi.
to talk with both of you.
Yeah, so let's dive in. We've been seeing a shift in how we project India, from Incredible India to India Shining to Digital India and Vikshit Bharat now. Of late, there has been more focus on the Bharat. Your take on this evolution, do you think Bharat is going to be a problem when we project India to the world, or are we going in the right direction? Shiv, can you go first?
Yeah, so I would say that India has always mattered in the world. I think it matters even more today. And if you look at India and the way it matters, does it matter economically? The answer is yes. So when you say brand India, when you talk of investment, can people not invest in India? The answer is no. I think India is a thriving market for very good return in almost every single investment opportunity. There's no doubt about that. If you look at brand India from an entertainment perspective, almost certainly yes. You look at the success of somebody like Rajnikant in Japan, or Shah Rukh Khan in Eastern Europe, or Amitabh Bachchan in Egypt, or Raj Kapoor in the old USSR. We've always had huge icons as ambassadors of brand India through their own work. If you look at culturally, has India mattered? India has always mattered culturally. I think over years, people have appreciated India for its various facets, whether it is yoga, whether it is, its narrative of non-alignment, etc. And finally, in terms of products, I don't think we have reached a situation where made in India or brand India has a premium and has an appeal across the world. It has an appeal in some parts of the world. For example, the two-wheeler success of people like Bajaj and Hero in Africa is a great example. The Tata truck success in many parts of the world is another success. And finally, in terms of talent, specifically management talent and business talent, I think brand India has definitely seen a fillip over the last 10 years. So that's what I would say.
On this point of Bharat, if you can give your take, I mean, we've been seeing India kind of being sidelined and Bharat taking center stage.
I think, see, they're just, in my book at least, I don't think all the people that I spoke about, whether it's the entertainment industry, whether it is the products industry, whether it's the services industry or the cultural industry, I don't think it's, it's a big issue at all there.
Okay. Pratap, if you can share, I mean, you had a real ringside view to how we brand India, so if you can give your take on from Incredible India to Vikshit Bharat.
Yeah, okay. So I need to just go back to what Shiv said, on brand India, especially the Bharat side of it. I mean, like they remember that old adage where they say a rose smells the same with whatever name you call it, right? I mean, and to me, it doesn't really matter what people call India. I mean, fine. To me, Bharat is more of a decisive way of looking at the stance of India from a religious perspective. I mean, which is basically the flavor of everything today these days, right? But it is more taking India towards its original foundations and culture and all that. But to me, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of money to be made if people start reprinting stuff, with Bharat over there instead of India. But other than that, India is going to remain what it is. Tomorrow, if you call, I mean, India as Bharat, I mean, does anything change for us? Nothing changes for us. The places are going to remain the same. The work is going to remain the same. The opportunity is going to remain the same. Uh, from every perspective you can think of. So, to me, it is largely a fight that has been put out. That it doesn't really impact us. At least that's the way I see it. You can call it any which way you want, but this country is definitely going ahead, despite what people do, people say, people think of, whatever, right? I mean, and everybody is lining up. I mean, you currently have every duck in a row towards India. Now, from the branding, nomenclature perspective, I would think uh, all of these words, all of these phrases, okay, have come up due to the opportunity that existed in that perspective, or the thrust that the government wanted to give. When Incredible India came in, it was more of a tourism-led thing, because I mean, it's sad. I don't know whether you know, but um, I think in 2011 we had more tourists coming to the country than now. You know, uh, I think we have about close to 7 million tourists coming into India today. In 2011, it was, I think, around 11 or 12 million visitors, if I'm not mistaken, foreign, travelers. So, at that time, yes, it made a lot of sense to push tourism. But today, across time, the thing changed, the focus changed to boosting or uh, making the economy work harder or brighter, which is where India Shining came in, right? And the whole idea was to give it a fillip from a national perspective as well as an international perspective. India Shining was about injecting optimism into our economy, making the stock market rise, and which it did. In fact, after 5 days of the campaign, the stock market touched 5,000 for the first time, and these are proven landmarks in that campaign. And then, from an international perspective, the whole idea was to bring in FDI into the country. And on the 1st of Jan 2004, which was about 3 months after the campaign actually began, the government of India released an ad in every newspaper in the country, which basically said, Happy New Year to an India which now has $120 billion that has come in as FDI. So $120 billion in 2004, which I think is far exceeds what we currently have, if I'm not mistaken. So at that point in time, the whole idea of branding was to boost and power up economy. And then came, your Make in India, which is more about, shifting manufacturing into this country. So that is where Make in India came. Then you have Digital India, which is about the focus of the country, with all its, fintech and everything getting into the more digital side of things. And then, of course, you have Developed India, which is the Vikshit Bharat, that thing coming through. It is all about our play at pushing ourselves as a developing or even a developed country, so to say. And then, of course, one of the key things that I think the government is focusing on is also the bringing up and strengthening and muscling up of the rural sector. And obviously, because if rural India does not really, add to the entire engine of India pulling it, then India is going to drag, right? It's going to be a drag. So you need rural India also to come up. So I think the focus of Bharat is essentially about pushing up and muscling up the rural sector of India. So which I think is a great need, and which is why these slogans keep coming up and disappearing, and then the focus changes and something else comes up.
Okay.
So for me, that is how Bharat is.
Okay. Fair enough. So we've just completed 2 terms of the Modi government, and there's been, as you rightly said, we've seen lots of slogans, from Startup India, Digital India,
That's right, yeah.
Make in India, all that. So how would you, if you were to rate the way the government has branded the country or the idea of the country, what rating would you give it from 1 to 10? I mean, 10 being the highest?
See, I think, let me answer this before Shiv comes in. See, I think the impact needs to be gauged from an external perspective, from an international perspective, because see, India is not it's not just a player. It's not one country at work. I mean, it's in whatever India does is going to get impacted across the country, across the world. So you need to look at what effects of branding has come through from the eyes of international media, from the eyes of international investors. How much of it has resonated with them? Because to me, if you look at international press, you have a lot of negativism happening about the country, about religion, about this minority, you name it. I mean, anything that we don't want to talk about this country is what they're talking about, correct? So I'm not very sure. And for them, see, the thing is, these are terms which doesn't really actually make any sense to them, because for them, they have been through this. If you look at an average citizen of the US or the UK, they have seen digital. I mean, while we are ahead in terms of fintech, there's so many things that they are far ahead of, right? We are actually catching up. We have a lot of catching up to do still, right? So for them, these are things that they've gone ahead, and they actually look at India struggling to meet up to them. While we are the third or fourth largest economy in the world today, the average fellow out there doesn't know. I mean, so you need to see the impact of branding from their perspective. Has this made any sense? I mean, even because we've been road rollered with so many of them that because at least I'm in advertising, I remember this, right? The average layman on the road may not even understand or even retain any of this.
Got it. Yeah. Shiv, I mean, if you have a rating score to give, or
Yeah, sure. I would say it's somewhere about 8 on 10. And why would I say that? When I look at all the other countries who jostle for attention with us, whether it's a China, whether it's a UK, whether it's a Germany, whether it's a Russia or an America, I think over the last 10 years, certainly India has come a long way in terms of the way it's perceived. In fact, even the latest ranking on countries, which are ranked on 5 parameters, which is being a leader, having economic influence, having political influence, having a strong international alliance, and having a strong military. These are the 5 parameters on which they judge it. And India has come in at 12. So I think we are ahead in the league of the middle income nations, certainly compared to all the others. But we still have some distance to traverse, because ahead of us are people like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Japan, South Korea, France, etc. So a lot has been done. And as Pat mentioned, I think digital has been a huge success for India. I think the sheer size of the transformation in India thanks to digital. India has always been a democracy. India has always been a very large market, but India has always been a lower price point market. With digitization and what's happening, there's a lot which the world is learning about the various digital aspects of India. And I think there certainly we have, and even if you look at the digital score in terms of crypto adoption index, we are number 4, which is really good, because many countries just haven't come anywhere close there. And renewable energy country investment attractiveness index, we are number 3. So on some of these, I think we've certainly progressed.
Oh, nice. The good you've given us the hits and misses,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So when we look at nation branding, which country do you think has done a great job, and why? I mean, we associate Bhutan with happiness and so on. So if you can give your take on this, Shiv?
Yeah. So any country's branding, Chitra, is a combination of its economic power, or hard power as we call it, and soft power. So if you look globally, who are the countries which have hard power? Today, America certainly has hard power. China certainly has hard power. And some parts of Europe would have hard power. If you look at soft power, only America has soft power. China does not have soft power to the same degree. India has a lot of soft power. Okay. And you can see the soft power displayed in the way we manage the pandemic and the vaccination around it. You saw soft power demonstrate itself in the way the Qatar issue was managed and issues around Canada were managed, etc. So I think in a combination terms, I think India has a good combination of hard power and soft power. And we should certainly try and build that. Other countries will struggle on the soft power. India is naturally blessed in that area.
That's pretty interesting, Shiv. Actually, when you talked about soft power, to my mind, Korea came to the forefront. I think Korea has been doing very well with its soft power.
Yes, correct. And Korea is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's number 6 on the list of influential countries. And one of the soft powers which Korea has had, especially after the pandemic, is whether it's the gang of BTS or the Korean soaps, etc. They've done a very good job of it. And unfortunately, Japan is not in the same league, but Korea has definitely stolen a march in the soft power area. Yes, you're right.
Pat, your take on this? Any countries?
Yeah, so the optimism index or whatever that happiness index that Bhutan has, right? I mean, I think it's rather than they saying it, I think the whole world has spoken to them, right? So that is why I think that remains one of the more popular country brandings ever, right? But from a pure advertising perspective, Incredible India is a great brand. I don't think I have seen enough of it yet, in the sense that we haven't really focused on what India can be from a pure touristic perspective. I mean, today we kind of angle it towards yoga and Ayurveda and things like that, which are more to do with the cultural side of it. I mean, great differentiators, yes, but then I think India has far more to appeal to the youngsters, outside, when it comes to the wilderness, trails, hiking, all of there's so many things that people can do. In fact, if you look at it, our youngsters in our country today are traveling far more than what we used to travel. We've never, I mean, I don't think I have really seen India the way I ought to have seen, right? I've gone to the more famous places in this country because thanks to advertising shoots and things like that, we've traveled. But other than that, I haven't really explored the country as much as I should have. As a kid, I did not have the chance to do it, because one, we didn't have places to stay. Today you have Airbnb and Oyo and all sorts of things operating. The infrastructure is in place. The big spenders anyway will stay at the 5 stars and all that. That's again pretty limited in terms of the people who have the dollars to spend in this country. But the Indian advertising product or the campaign that we've been running is something which has got tremendous life, because you can slice Incredible India in so many ways, right? I mean, there's no country that is not that actually lives up to the slogan as much as we do, right? Then there was another campaign. I don't know whether you've ever seen it. It was called the United States of Awesome.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah. So it was a campaign that was doing the rounds at one point in time. I've heard about it. I'm not even sure whether I've seen it, but I saw something of it. It was a great idea to rebrand United States of America with it. The campaign they are currently doing is pretty dead. It's not interesting at all. On the other hand, if you look at the work that Saudi is doing, they're phenomenal stuff. They've got Messi in as their ambassador. Of course, I mean, they have the money, so they can do a lot of things. And again, there's a lot of perception building to be done for a country like Saudi. They have a whole lot of issues to grapple with. In fact, I had a fair chance of presenting a campaign to them. And I did mention, my whole idea was driving the whole campaign with DiCaprio, using DiCaprio as the ambassador and driving a campaign, but that never really reached the powers that take the call. It was a campaign that kind of was brushed under, and then I see Messi coming in, so that was something which.
If I would add on that, there's one very good campaign for Switzerland, which Federer does.
Oh, yes.
Yes, of course,
it's a super campaign, and now that Pat jogged my memory and your question, I would rate that very, very high, because it's tongue in cheek, it's down to earth, and it's very Swiss. That's
That's
one.
Yes,
right.
on
Yeah.
that train, day he goes on the train. It's a fabulous
Correct.
campaign. Yes.
Absolutely right.
And
It's a great
even,
campaign.
yeah, and I don't know whether you remember, Shiv, you remember the Australian campaign?
Yes, yeah,
Where in the hell is Australia or something like that,
correct,
That,
yes.
that
And
was so Aussie,
correct.
in terms of its
Years ago, they got
so to
Paul
say.
Dundee to do it.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Crocodile
yeah,
Dundee guy.
that's
That was
right,
a
that's
great
right, yeah.
campaign too, but that was years ago. Yeah,
And even New Zealand also does fantastic work.
yeah.
Okay, so we've really got to, I mean, we have a great line, Incredible India. We need to just exploit the whole potential of it.
Absolutely. There's so much to do. I mean, look, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, if you want forests, you have forests. You have mountains, you got mountains. You want, foggy monsoon weather, you have that. You have backwaters, you've got that. You've got coconut groves, you have that, right? You want fruits, you have that. You have tea plantations, you have dance, culture, music, food, you name it. You have deserts, right? I mean, you have anything and everything. See, I mean, of course, I don't know whether you know, Chitra, I was in Kerala last couple of weeks back. And my brother, my youngest brother, is starting something. We have some land which is near the backwaters, that is in Trivandrum. And he's also an ex-Mican, and he was in advertising before. He's kind of moved back. And he's now starting a kayaking and canoeing business, you know, with some people. Now, imagine that, right? This is near my native place where I've gone only during when I was a kid during my summer holidays. We never imagined kayaking and canoeing and outdoor camping and guess what? 2 kilometers away from there is surfing. They had an international surfing competition in Varkala, of all the places.
Yeah, so
You know?
India is actually, there's lots
Yeah,
to sell.
that's right. And in between this kayaking place and the surfing place, there is a shipwreck they have found. And they're going to make it into a shipwreck tourism bit. Right? I mean, look at the things that are happening in this country. There's so many things that you can do. India's so full of it. We've just explored 1% of what this country is all about from an advertising perspective, from a tourism perspective. There are so many things you can do with it.
I mean, since the focus seems to be on branding now from more a business or a ROI perspective, I mean, should we also think of, getting some term to an attribute for India? Like when we talk of Germans, we say German efficiency, we say French flair. But what
Yeah.
would be the one attribute you would tag with India and why?
I leave that to Shiv because that's a dangerous question now.
Yeah.
No, but go ahead, take a shot.
Shiv, yeah, okay. Shiv,
Yeah.
you go first otherwise.
Yeah, I think when we think of India, if you wanted a tag, it has to be a combination of something of its rich culture and heritage laced with technology. I think that is where India will stand out compared to any other country in the world.
Hmm. That's true. And diversity also.
Diversity is a given. Almost every country, America is as diverse. China is not, but America, if you look at the large countries,
Hmm.
America is very diverse. India is very diverse.
Okay, but
Yeah,
yeah,
one of-
culture
you know,
with
one of-
technology. Yeah,
Chitra,
Prathap.
one of the things that we shouldn't do
Hmm.
is to go down the cheap labor perspective, right? While we have 65% of India, which is below 30 or below 25 or whatever, and a lot of people who are from a tech perspective, extremely gifted, and we have hundreds of thousands of youngsters out there, right? And there is so much of stuff that can be made. I mean, semiconductors onwards, right? Fab manufacturing, etc. But what is going to happen is if we even give them the advantage of saying that India is a cheap place to build, I mean, fine. We all know that it will be, but then I don't think that is going to be an aspect that needs to be talked about. Otherwise, we'll become like a sweatshop, like what Bangladesh is, what Vietnam is, what Cambodia is, and places like that. And they will drive us down the drain. That is going to be at the
What
bottom end
you're
of the
saying is
value
that
chain. Yeah.
demographic dividend, which we keep talking about,
Yeah,
that
we
should not be
basically
stressed.
give you great skill at competitive prices, not cheap. The word cheap should go out of our dictionary. We give you great innovative stuff at the kind of price you want or whatever it is. I mean, but it can't be cheap. We have enough and more people. We have, artificial intelligence that is coming in. We have new kinds of technologies that are coming in. And we have people who are driving it. In fact, I don't know whether you saw the small little clip that is going around. There's a boy, again, there's a Malayali chap, youngster from some university in the US. He has actually made the first app that writes code. AI app that writes code for people like us who don't know how to write code. So if you have an idea in your mind and you need somebody to write code, this is the app that you would go with. And it's called Devika. I think that's the name of the app.
Okay. So interesting. So both of you are basically saying we should push our tech and our mind,
Absolutely,
mind.
absolutely, yeah.
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 So
Absolutely.
I think, we are. I mean, Brand India is, as Shiv said, the who's coming. We have Elon Musk scheduled to be here. So the Brand India has arrived. Would you say that?
Yeah. I remember there was this one ad that I had written for India Shining internationally. It's a great headline and it still makes a lot of sense. In fact, there were two ads that I can talk about. One was the last time India was so rich, Columbus came looking for us. Columbus discovered America, that was one. The other one was centuries ago, we discovered zero. Today, we give you infinity.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's exactly the threshold where we are in.
Finally, closing thoughts with you, Shiv.
Yeah, I would say, Chitra, and I've said this for many years now, for about 10 years, definitely. I think India is always a work in progress country. Some numbers of India will look big, but some numbers of India and ratios of India, when divided by its population, will look small. Like our GDP will look very big, but our per capita income will be small. So India will be a work in progress country for me for the next 25, 30 years. We have gone to Davos, I think, from 2006. Today, with the federalism and the states pumping for their own states, etc., state investment, it's a good thing. A Revant Reddy going somewhere, a Siddaramaiah going somewhere, a Yogi Adityanath going somewhere. It's good for India, for each of the states to actually do it themselves. Everybody is attracted by the middle class in India, and you've written about it, and everybody's written about it. In 1991 was the first time that the coin expression of the big middle class came in. Last year, FT wrote that Indian middle class could be about 400 million people. Okay, so we still have some distance to cover in my book. And the last point I would say is a place where I believe we need help, which you represent, is the media. You cannot be a global player if your media is not credible. And I think the media industry must wake up to the fact that they need to become more credible. And even simple things, for example, in senior management in media, you have only 13% women. All of you talk a lot about diversity, but you do very little about it. So the media itself has to really look at what they can do and how they can do this whole business of promoting Brand India.
Yeah, thank you, Shiv. I think you held a good mirror for us. So thank you, Pat. Lovely perspectives. Yep. And I love the optimism for Brand India also. So great having you here.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye,
all the best.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.